my mind, best described as the modern era of Lego. I do believe we are in the
It
postmodern
really
era,
feels like
but
it really feels like the death of an old era and the start of a new one this year.
yeah,
Because like I had mentioned, building technique wise, if you go look at a 2006 set, these sets seem much further off from a 2006 set than they do a 1980 set.
right.
But if you look at like the overall strategy and, you know, thematical design of Lego, right?
You can start to see a change.
This
Yeah.
is much closer to 2006, like way closer, right?
Mhm.
So this is kind of this awkward, like that awkward year in high school where you just grew a foot over summer, but your voice is still really high, or I mean, this is Lego puberty, so to speak.
Yeah.
Of, you know,
Hello, bricks, chicks, and minifigures. You are listening to AFOLs Welcome, where we talk about all things Lego from the perspective of two adult collectors. We are your co-hosts. I'm West.
and I'm Grinch.
And today we are going to be talking about Lego in the year 1999. But first, some exciting Lego news.
Exciting Lego news.
Grinch, what did you have for us this week?
So we got the Winter Village set revealed. Woohoo! We got some Lego Horizon Zero Dawn news, and then we had some Sonic sets revealed. So compared to our robust news segment last week, a little bit quieter on the news front. Of course, there are a ton of rumors floating around about some sets for next year, specifically Star Wars, as well as some sets that are expected this year. As we mentioned last week, we are trying to stay away from covering leaks as well as rumors until we get any, we just want to cover anything we have an official announcement or reveal on to make sure that we're not setting false expectations. So that information's out there. Go ahead and check that out if that piques your interest. But West, what piqued your interest here as far as official Lego news goes this week?
Yeah, well, it's great to get official photos of the Winter Village finally revealed. And not only was it revealed, but all of our favorite YouTubers have published their YouTube reviews and videos and thoughts and feelings on these sets. So it's exciting to see, people like Tiaggio taking a look at the set, taking his first crack at it. I actually was in the Lego store yesterday, and they already had it set up on display, which was exciting to see. I mean, it's available on October 1st, so I guess that's like not terribly too far
Like
away.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
if you're listening to this on Monday, September 30th, it is tomorrow.
Yeah. So, we have that's not like overly surprising. It is interesting. I mean, each year we start to get towards the end of August, and I think I say something to you about like, hey, like we're kind of approaching the time we should be getting information about the Winter Village set. This year, the official reveal, I feel like, was pretty late. That's definitely anecdotal, but I do feel like we got information on this one rather later than we normally do. I guess Lego's getting a little bit better with some of their leaks and rumors and stuff like that. Some rumor mill control.
Well, we got some early. I think it was leaked a little earlier than it normally is, as far as like the name and like remember we talked about it like a month ago already.
Yeah,
that it was going to be the hot air balloon ride, and we were like, how do you feel about it now that you've actually seen it?
That's a good question. It's definitely returned to the fantasy side of the Winter Village series, which you famously are not a huge fan of, and I only say famously because you put that in one of your videos, and then actually
I made a ranking video, and Tiaggio commented on how I put the gingerbread last, and he was the designer. For those that don't know,
so I know
that was neat.
He was a little bummed by that.
I remember I texted you a picture of it. I was like, "Uh oh, I guess people actually watch my videos."
Oh dear.
But he was a good sport,
He
so
was. He was.
he seems like a cool dude.
I actually.
I have to say, I
Yeah.
really okay. Hold on. In my defense, in that video, I literally said the gingerbread house is the best standalone if you could only have one set. The problem I have with the gingerbread house is that within the entire collection, it goes down a different path than everything else, so it kind of makes it stand out. So it's like if you have the rest of it,
Hmm.
it sticks out like a sore thumb. But if you could only like rebuild a single Winter Village set every single year, like let's pretend you live in that world where you just had to have one, like it would be the building of a gingerbread house is a annual tradition, right? So it makes total sense that like
It was a great set.
you would get one. It's a good set. It just when you have
Yeah.
a post office and a bakery and a fire station, and then you got like a gingerbread house, and you're like, huh. And then the scale was really off. Like that building is not only like taller than the fire station, like way taller than. I mean, it's about the same. Like it feels like bigger than the fire station, which just kind of always felt off to me.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I do like that the gingerbread house. I've been scheming, and I've been scheming on this for years, Grinch. So you can roll your eyes at this because you've heard it. But scheming at recoloring it on bricks on Stud.io to go and look at just like what would normalizing it look like, right? So like changing some of the features that make it stand out and look like a gingerbread house into just like a normal house, and that requires that I have it fully assembled on Stud.io or Studio, and that takes time, and I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't worked on it in a
Also,
while.
digitally building a Lego set, unless you're like creating from scratch, like following instructions and digitally building a Lego set is a terrible experience. Just putting that out there.
It's really hard. There's a way that I've seen or read that you can import all of the pieces into a build,
Yeah, you can import the set pieces.
and then you're just kind of like, and that I think takes more time. I was effectively doing that where every time I'd use a piece, I would set it to the side, and that sort of worked, but is not
But
as
you also don't have like a dual screen setup, so it's
no, nor a
probably really
mouse
annoying
for
to like.
my laptop. So
Yeah, so you're just flipping back and forth between tabs.
yeah, it's not the best. I need to set it up
But
with a yeah. Go
speaking
ahead.
of the best, the hot air balloon ride.
Yeah, let's get back to that. So I'll share my thoughts real quick, Grinch, and then I'll let you share yours.
Yeah.
I seeing
Okay.
it in person was really great. I think the actual building looks really, really good.
Yeah,
I'm really happily impressed by that. The scale maybe feels a little small. It almost looks like a town hall kind of, but like I said,
sure.
scaled down. So I do really like the physical build there. I'm maybe not as keen on the hot air balloon side of things, but because it's kind of it's an odd detail to include in like a mail transport. Like it's such an ineffective way to transport mail. I know
Yeah.
that's so like nitpicky, but like the reason
Well,
none of us just like hop in our hot air balloons and go to work every day is because unless you have like a motor on it, you have to just follow the wind. And so if the wind isn't blowing in the right direction, then you're just not going to work. And so I think it's
let's be very clear though. Santa isn't known for his
efficiency.
practical delivery mechanisms, right?
Well, if anything, he's
So
extremely efficient.
it's right on brand for him.
Yeah.
But he's efficient because of the magic, and in this case, the hot air balloon doesn't need air; it just flies wherever he tells it to go.
I see. No, it it's fun. It's whimsical. I think it's a neat little feature. Do I think I think it's fun with the like the elves. Like I love the elf with like the little wands, the directional wands to taxi
Yeah,
in the balloon. I think that's like kind of a funny feature. And the mail delivery system with like the different chutes and stuff, I think is fun. Where I think this could really shine is instead of the hot air balloon, you could take the small reindeer sled from the elf clubhouse and have him land on that rooftop area
Mm.
and deliver mail, and that would make a lot more sense in my mind. But
So I
Grinch, what do you think?
maybe am taking the opposite view as you. I really enjoy this set.
Yeah.
And I know I don't really like the whimsical stuff typically, but in my perfect world that I've created in my mind for the Winter Village, in this case, um, it acts as a nice bridge between something like the gingerbread house, the Santa's workshop, the elf clubhouse, right? Like there's this magical air balloon that gets you from the real world to this world now. And the one thing I'll say is it I don't want to say Winter Village has felt a little dry to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it was kind of getting close to that area of like, what are they going to do to keep this theme fresh? And to me, this is kind of hitting on all cylinders. It's scaled down. I like the scale of it. It feels smaller. It's kind of the opposite of what I was mentioning with the gingerbread house, where it's not like this ginormous scale and it feels like these sets are just getting bigger and bigger. This set actually seems closer in scale to the 2010 to 2018 kind of golden years of Winter Village for me, right? It feels a little bit smaller as far as the building goes. And I was really unsure about the whole hot air balloon in the first place. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like it's not a hot air balloon ride. It is like the leaks and the rumors said it's a North Pole post office set with the hot air balloon, and it just kind of clicked with me. I really like the softness of the roof with the
Mm-hmm.
kind of building technique that they use there. I really like that, and overall, I think it's just kind of a fun set. And like I said, it kind of in my perfect world, it now is a bridge between this whimsical world of kind of mythical Christmas and then the real world. So
Yeah. No, I think I definitely I can hear you there. I think one of the things that it continues that I'm not a huge fan of, if I may, is the buildings are not super deep. The depth there is not crazy. It's continuing the tradition of a six wide
six wide,
or
yeah.
six deep building, which was really kind of started with the town square, the Main Street set. And I feel like
I
the
would I would I would argue real quick that that was started back with the original toy store and post office and bakery. That
fair
was all six deep.
those weren't super deep. When they started building kind of the more intricate buildings, the houses, the fire station, right? Like they kind of got a little bit more. They had a little bit more to them.
Mm-hmm.
This one isn't as facade as the other buildings are, because I actually think the Main Street buildings are four deep, if I'm not mistaken. Like they were really narrow. But maybe I'm misthinking that. But I'm just looking at a picture of them. The Alpine Inn wasn't super deep itself either, so that was something else. I mean, a great looking set, you know. But anyways, what I guess I'm getting at is it's continuing that, which I think is fine. I would prefer a little more detail, but that's okay.
It's hard with the price threshold they're trying to meet because like even this
Yeah.
set is what 1,000 and change pieces for like I'm just impressed that they've been able to keep this at $100 still. Like these things have been, I think they started originally at like 60 back in the day, but they've gotten bigger, more detailed, and
Hmm.
I love this price point for these sets at 100
No,
because
it
it's
is great.
Christmas. There's a lot going on. It's the
Yeah.
holiday season. There's this. We got the X Mansion coming up. We got the Endurance coming up. We've got the
Hmm.
Modular coming up, and it's like, okay, well, there's $600 in sets right there,
Yeah.
or more. But I don't think we have the price on the Endurance yet. That could be another. It could be $1,000 to close out. The last thing I'd want is another like $300 set on top of that for the Winter Village. That's going to be huge and detailed because, like, as you know, at this point in time, you and I are kind of struggling. Like, I don't even bring out the full Winter Village anymore. Like, it takes 2 weekends just to set up at this point.
It does, and it's tough too because like the whole setup is I mean, I had a 4x8 table that I would set it up, and I'd set up a train, and I would change my layout every year. And to say tedious is maybe not like the right word for it, but it was a lot, you know. And I've expanded mine. Like I bought the Honeydukes, or not the Honeydukes set, but the Hogsmeade set, and incorporated that
Yeah.
into the Winter Village, which I still think was really good. I haven't modified those buildings a little bit to kind of separate them from Harry Potter, which I kind of wanted to do, and still would like to do, just with like some small decorations and stuff. You know, instead of the three broomsticks, it's the the local pub or whatever. Instead of Honeydukes, although with those stickers you can't really change that, but maybe it's just like a store, like a retail store, you know. But anyways, the point I'm getting at is like you said, it is difficult to set the Winter Village up these days. And you know, do you intermix the packages, the toys, the people, right? Like where do you draw the line? And especially as a collector too, like you want
Yeah.
to kind of keep your collection intact, but at the same time, like you want to, you know, have fun with stuff. There's like 17 Santas now, so does every building get its own Santa, or do you have one Santa? Do you have, like, where do you draw the line? I think the one thing about this that I'm not a huge fan of is it feels, we already had a post office, right? So having
Yeah.
Santa's post office, okay, got it, it's different enough. And we already had a Santa's workshop, and so it does just feel a little like we're, I think, while I would agree with your take on it, that it is a really fun set, and I definitely enjoy the whimsy of it and enjoy any sort of modern Winter Village build is great. It does feel like this is, I don't know if this moves the needle enough in the direction of makes the set feel unique, if that makes sense. Like you said, it still feels, for those of us who've been collecting this series since the beginning, this feels still a little stale at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But that's,
I see. When I saw this, I was almost relieved that we didn't just get another post office, but like modernized.
yeah.
Because that was I was like, oh crap. Oh, okay, cool. I was like, they said it's a post. I was like, post office. What? Like, we just? Oh my gosh, we're getting into like rehash territory now.
Yeah.
And
No,
no.
that's
So
fair. That's fair. Like I said, it's a fun set. I think the picture that does it a lot of justice is you see it on the shelf with the last four Winter Village sets, right? And so
hmm
it's the Inn, the Main Street, and the Santa's Visit set, that house. And here's my kind of thesis on this, which is that this series right now, these four sets are like the postmodern Winter Village sets, these icon
yeah,
sets. And
I
every
agree.
single one of them has been just fantastic to build, and has, in my mind, advanced this series in ways that sets before did not. I think the Elf Clubhouse comes close, but I mean, just
Well, West, I think we've got an episode on the Winter Village coming up. So how about
okay.
we
How about we
dive
pause?
into the full
No,
theme
that's
review then, huh? and keep moving with
oh,
the Lego news here. So,
Grinch, you're so right.
for anybody, as I normally am, but no, humbly, as I'm always humble about. No,
Hmm.
we do actually in a couple weeks now, because it's like we talked about, it's October 1st. So probably at some point here in November, we'll do the full theme review on the Winter Village and do a full deep dive there. So if anybody was following the Horizon Zero Dawn news, earlier this year we got kind of a trailer reveal of a Horizon Lego game, and I think it took the community by a little bit of by surprise a little bit.
Hmm.
And we have a release date now of November 14th. So if anybody's interested in that, I believe you can actually start pre-ordering it in the month of October. Um, this is not a video game podcast, but please do not pre-order video games, because we need to keep video game companies honest. That's all I'll say on that. Make sure you understand what game you're buying before you buy it, and don't buy into the hype. But that game comes out on November 14th. And then one thing I just kind of noticed as we were talking, and I did not actually put it in the overview of the news this week, is the Bright Bomber Fortnite Brickheads
Yeah.
was revealed. It's actually going to be a gift with purchase for insiders October 1st through 3rd. So if you're listening to this on Monday the 30th, that means tomorrow the 1st. If you're listening to this on October 4th, that means you missed it. Just kidding. October 4th through October 7th, it will be open to everybody. So if you're listening to this after October 8th, this is not relevant to you. But if you want that brickhead, I believe it's got a very modest price threshold for a gift with purchase at like $90 or something like that. So it's not like a $200 threshold like we see sometimes. So go get that if you'd like.
Mm. Grinch, thank you for bringing that up. The gift with purchase stuff. I was just on the website for Lego looking up that post office pictures and saw two for everybody that there's a 2x points deal right now on Lord of the Rings. So that ends on the 30th, I believe. So
I didn't even see that announced anywhere.
You really don't have a ton of time with this one, but yep, it does look like it's 2x points. So if you're getting Barad-dûr or you want to get Rivendell, this would be a great time to do that and snag some extra points for it. So
those are expensive sets, so those points will go far away for you.
Very true. There was one more bit of news we wanted to chat on, the Sonic sets. Grinch, did you have anything here? I will sum up my thoughts on Lego Sonic with a very curt and direct neat. Anything on your end, Grinch?
I actually, and I guess I can talk about it on What Are We Building? I actually bought the Sonic Ideas set last week.
Oh.
Because I wanted just to have some representation, because I've kind of got a nice little video game sub area going in my collection. And I was like, if I just needed one, so I got the idea set. And I think I'll be curt with you. I kind of wish it ended there. But yeah, I think we talked about it in the what to expect in 2025. We both were kind of like, is next year going to be the last year for Sonic? I don't know how well these are selling. This Super Shadow versus BioLizard. Look, I played like original Sega Sonic. I have no idea what this is. I haven't actually seen the movies yet either. And yeah, be curt. Take it away.
All right. That'll be it. Now on to our.
Oh, that's it.
Topic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Neat. That's all I had to say.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're a Sonic fan, like, is this doing it for you? Let us know in the comments. I think your boy Taco likes Sonic. I think. Which is cool if you do. I'm just not a fan of the IP, so I don't know. Like, if you're seeing these new sets, the Campfire Clash, and which just is like a mech set with added price, and then if you're seeing the BioLizard, are you a fan? Is this doing it for you? Let us know.
I think the real thing here too, right, is like we're not here to tell anybody like we think this is dumb or like something like that, right? Because like that's not the case. It's just acknowledging like this just isn't something that we're well versed on or can speak to.
The Lego portfolio is so wide now. It's hard to say you're a fan of. I mean, remember back in the day, dude, like in 2015, you could be like, I know all of this. I do all of this, right? Because it was a lot more condensed. But now the reach is pretty far.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's like I said, no harm, no foul. We're not trying to shame anybody or make anybody feel like what they like is not exciting. This is just stuff that doesn't necessarily speak to us. So we'll cover it, but that's about it. So anyways, let's move on. Grinch, let's talk about our main topic this week.
Today's topic. Let's do it.
So, to set the stage, the year is 1999. The euro has just been established in Europe. The eurozone has been around for a minute in various forms. They've finally decided to join into one currency. They've created the euro. Super exciting. Napster has gone live on the internet too, changing the music industry forever, completely destroying what we knew as CD stores or music stores. For those of you who are younger, you used to go to the store to buy CDs. I know it's crazy.
Do you
Grinch.
mean like the player for the Dallas Cowboys?
No, no. So great point.
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, these were compact discs, CDs, and they used
oh,
a laser in your computer to read what was on it, and that's how music was
wow.
stored. Yep. So, yeah, what a
I was thinking about the whole Napster thing, trying to like get back into 1999,
yeah,
and it's amazing that like in 2004, 2006, right, 2010, you would have said Napster failed, didn't really do much, but iTunes revolutionized the music industry and how we purchase music, right? Because back then you would still buy the individual song.
sure,
But now with streaming and all that, it's kind of gone like full circle, like back to what Napster was doing and just now making it legal and doing it legally and acceptably. And so it's kind of funny of like 10 years ago you would have looked back and been like, yeah, Napster was there for a hot minute, it kind of did its thing, and now you look back at it and you're like, it changed the effing game. I mean, this is it
well,
really it almost feels like it had a bigger impact than I mean iTunes really digitized it, right? And so did
sure.
Napster, and you could say iTunes came from that, but it almost feels like we're more closely similar to Napster now than iTunes.
I think what we saw right is that Napster was almost a shock to the system. And
Right.
I was joking about, I mean, a little bit. Like we did have to go to the store to go buy CDs. Like it was an arduous task, unless somebody could burn them on their computer, which every once in a while you could get a burned CD. Technically not authorized, right? You could create mixes, but you couldn't like just copy a full CD into another CD. Um, because that's how the music industry was making money. And so
Right.
the whole concept of Napster completely blew it out of the water. What iTunes did was it was kind of the sugar to get the medicine to go down, which was like they assuaged a lot of fears and kind of continued things by saying like, well, hey, you know, like if everyone's willing to pay $12 for a CD with like 8 songs on it, let's just charge them 99 cents a song, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll let people buy either the full album like they're going to the CD store, or they can buy a song individually. And they got the license for stuff and everyone agreed. And then as Spotify kind of came onto the scene and Pandora and these streaming services came onto the scene, right? Now we have Apple Music. You don't even own the music anymore. You just
Right.
are paying into the, it's kind of a weird concept these days.
You're paying a licensing fee.
Basically,
It's
yeah.
what's happening with video games right now too. Like if you buy a digital copy of a video game, they are licensing you access to that game, which is why they can, in theory, take away games.
Hmm.
You pull them off. If they pull off support, they can actually, you don't have the game anymore, which I hate, but that's okay.
No, I mean,
What else
it's
happened in 1999?
well, that was lots of rabbit holes in 1999, believe it or not. Um, no, but I think I will just emphasize this, right? Like that is a huge
Hmm.
take on digital transformation. So I think
Right.
that's really important to mention, and drives an interesting conversation. Fortunately, we're not subscribing to Lego yet, where like Lego owns the sets, but we just uh, pay into building them. But there are subscription Lego services out there that you can buy, or pay into. So it's not an unheard of concept. Anyways, let's press. President Bill Clinton was acquitted from his trial, his impeachment, famously, and last but not least, Phantom Menace came out in the summer of 1999. So it was a big year for the United States. I know a lot of these are US based news segments. I'm sure there was a lot of stuff going around the world. For our listeners who are not based in the United States, if there's something big that we did not cover for the year of 1999, I know there was a lot going on in Kosovo at the time. I was trying to keep things more wave top level. So, but if there's something that we didn't cover, let us know, and let us know why you think that impacted not only the years to come, but if you can trace an impact back to Lego, I'd love to hear that too. So, Grinch, we talk. That's kind of 1999 in a nutshell. Do you remember that year very well?
Like the back of my third left hand. No. I mean, kind
You were
of.
a
I actually,
youngster.
it's funny, like going through the Lego sets, I remember it by the Lego sets.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had that one. I had that. Oh, I didn't know that one came out in 1999. Dang, I thought I was older. Um, so I
Yeah.
think we had the idea to do years in review. Obviously, we'll do one for 2024 when 2024 wraps, but we thought about going back in time, looking at Lego throughout the years,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of touching on these years, and we were thinking about when is a good year to start, and we proposed the idea of 1999 because it was, like you said, the Phantom Menace came out, and it feels like from the 70s to the late 90s, Lego's pretty, or I should say 80s to late 90s, Lego's pretty turnkey, right? You could say like pre 80s was kind of its own phase, 80s, 90s was another phase, and then like 1999 really was the kind of setup for a
Yeah.
lot of changes that we would see in the 2000s, right? Just a ton of changes really that we'd see in the 2000s with a lot of focus on licensed themes. So it's kind of like this happy medium of like, it's Napster is a perfect kind of comparison here of like it's really like a Napster year of like, the whole Lego outlook is going to change, right? And it's going to be really based off of licenses. We're going to get our first real full dive into a license this year. We're going to have some other sub themes, and the storytelling in Lego is going to change, like how they set up their sub themes or their themes is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some Lego video games here, right? So we thought 1999 would be a really good starting point. We will revisit earlier years, but full disclosure, I was born in the early 90s and Wes was born in the very early 90s. So we don't have a ton of personal experience with those years outside of just being Lego fans and understanding their values. So we'll probably group those years into larger segments because they just weren't coming out with as many sets. Really, in like the 2000s, you started to see this just an explosion of like, going from like 200 sets a year to like 350, 400 plus sets every year. And this is kind of this happy medium between the two. So that's why we decided to start here.
Yeah, and this is like you said, Grinch. This is a transitioning year for Lego. I think what we would really say here for us is that the or our argument or our main argument is that this is kind of the transition into like modern Lego. And this is a big year for Lego, not only because of its movement into Star Wars, but because of what's being set up. And it's fun, we're referencing, for those of you who want to take a look at this, you can go into Brickset and look at and just search Lego 1999, and it'll show you all of the sets in 1999. And kind of understanding the history of Lego, you're starting to see sort of things being set up as a problem. If those of you who are familiar with kind of the company's history, and I'm going to reference a documentary, Beyond the Brick, a Lego brickumentary that came out in 2014. Jason Bateman is actually the narrator. It's really fun. It's now it's a little dated and feels a little older, but it came out and was available on HBO, and I'm not sure if it's there anymore. But one of the things that they talk about was how Lego almost went bankrupt in the early 2000s, and
Mm-hmm.
you you can start to see, for those of you who understand the reasons why, right? You start to see that in 1999, especially with just everything that Lego is trying to do. And we're going to get into this, but there's just so much going on this year. And so, like I said, I do think this is a really good year to kind of put a mark in the tape, if you will, and be like, hey, this is kind of a transitionary year for Lego into this kind of modern Lego
Mm-hmm.
setup. Like you said, Grinch, I think you kind of summarized it really well, that this is really when we see Lego start to explore licensed themes. And from here, it just explodes, right? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And so they're
Yeah, I
making.
mean, like a couple years later, we get Harry Potter, right?
Mm-hmm.
We continue to get Star Wars. We get Indiana Jones shortly thereafter. I mean, this is really kind of this is the moment in time,
And now
calm
it's
before the storm.
it's to a point where like an individual Disney movie will get its own limited run, right? I'm thinking of Prince of
Right.
Persia. I'm thinking of The Lone Ranger, like where Lego literally they didn't know that this movie wasn't going to do well, and so they invest in these sets, and this infrastructure is built up, and time and energy is committed into it, all for it to fail or not succeed as well as they had hoped. and
Mm-hmm.
and Lego is sort of stuck with this series, this limited run series that they're not going to expand on anymore. And so, like I said, like you're not only getting these big evergreen themes like Harry Potter, like Star Wars, you're starting to see very niche one-off licensed themes as well, which is just like unheard of. You wouldn't have got that, I mean, beforehand. So yeah,
Right.
it's fascinating. But anyways, so I think we've made a pretty good argument for why 1999 was a transitional year for Lego. Grinch, do you want to just kind of go over some overall year data?
Yeah. So it's like we said, it's 1999. We talked a little bit about Star Wars, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. But there were a total of 333 sets. And fun fact, they're all retired, if you didn't know. And that
What?
was across 17. What? What? I wonder, when did Assembly Square come out? That has to be the longest set on shelf, right? Was that 2014 or 2015?
Oh, I don't know. It definitely was
Maybe it's
around for a while.
2017 because
Yeah.
it's the 10-year anniversary, right? So that's
Mhm.
2017 has to be the next year with not a non-retired set. But I digress. There's 17 total themes, and I'm not going to hit all 17 here, but just to give you an idea, Adventurers, Aquazone, Belleville is still a thing at this point.
Mhm.
Uh, Rock Raiders, we talked about that last week. Obviously, Star Wars, Castle, like these are some awesome themes. Trains, and then there's
Mm.
42 sub themes. So within those themes, you've got stuff like ninjas, specifically adventurers, jungle. We have Technic and Throwbots or Slyzors, depending on where you're from. So that's kind of just painting the picture of where we're at. If you wanted to buy every single set, all 3,000, wow, all 333 sets at retail price, it would cost you $6,000. Now, I what my data doesn't show me is if all 333 sets are retail, because I think some of those don't have prices.
Correct. Some
So
of them were
might be
like
a little. I mean, like eight
promotional
of those are
sets.
Happy Meal toys.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Happy Meal toys with
They
they
were
all
so
had
dumb.
slopes? I mean, they had slopes and then the little printed face on
Yeah.
them, and like I think one of them's the Hamburglar.
Yeah.
Like,
Ugh.
dude, Lego was so simple. I'm looking at a car. It literally has four wheels, two bricks for the side, a plate over the top of it, and then like four slopes, and
Yeah.
that's the car. It's got this chicken on it that's printed on a slope. I think I actually still have a couple of these.
I'm sure
I
we
every once
do.
in a while I'll find like the I'll find the printed slope tile in my like piece collection. I'm like, what the? Oh yeah, blast from the past. So yeah, so it's for the $6,000. It's probably it's not including stuff like that, or so the data is somewhat incomplete in that regard, but just kind of helping paint a picture of some of the collection fatigue that we've talked about, right? Where Lego's coming out larger, more expensive sets. Like this is back in the day when people who were big Lego fans probably had most of the big ones that they wanted from here, right? Now you have to be a little bit more choosy.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see. Not only did you said Belleville, right? Like there
Mm-hmm.
was the weird like intermediate Duplo system that was out as well.
The Primo.
Primo, yep, and then Snap came out as well too. And so that was
Snap.
one of the things I was alluding to of just sort of you see all of this stuff that Lego is trying, and it really feels like they're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. So
Mm-hmm. I think Doggo West agrees. So some of the highlights I have here. So, with the theme reviews, we'll go deeper into each one of these themes, but just kind of talking about the portfolio, if you would, from a whole here. What highlights do you have, West?
well, I think like you mentioned, right, there's some really cool themes that we're seeing this year. So we're seeing things like trains, ninjas, Johnny Thunder. Some of the ones that really stand out for me are like the Throwbots. What about you,
Mm-hmm.
Grinch?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a huge fan of Lego Ninjas. Just love it. And we might revisit this conversation later. Obviously, we talked about Rock Raiders. Within the town theme, you had this kind of sub space theme going on that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, I feel like, one of the kind of more realistic takes on space, right? Obviously, there'd been a ton with like classic space. There'd been a ton with like these one-off space adventure Mtron, right? Style sets, the Ice Planet 2002 style sets, right? These kind of more whimsical fantasy-based space sets. But this is really more of a like realistic. I've got a Lego city and I've got a space set. The trains had a lot of representation in 1999. I mean, this was a pretty solid year for trains. There was the snow train track remover. There was the four railroad crossing piece, the one with the track going through the track and perpendicular to itself, which is kind of a you know famous piece for train enjoyers at this point. And like we said, there's kind of a passing of a torch here this year. There's a lot of shell sets too within town, right? And this was before Lego City. Back then, it was called Lego Town. But that was really where Lego had focused a lot of their branding before, was on more realistic brands or real life brands that you see in the real world as far as everyday life goes. So there was a huge partnership with Shell. There's a Shell car wash, a Shell gas station, a Shell convenience store, and you really don't see that anymore these days.
Yeah. So, Grinch, actually, I think you introduced a really interesting idea here, or you kind of highlight something which, we talk about Lego in 1999 switching to licensed themes, but really they had already done that through some of their partnerships with companies like Shell and some of their other promotional sets. Some of the ones that stood out to me were I think it's the Senna lines promotional set, Stena,
Mm-hmm.
apologies, Stena ferry lines, and then there was a Tyne milk delivery truck, and Tyne was a Norwegian milk
I
country
saw
company,
that.
and so those two were some of their promotional sets that year.
Ferrari, they did.
Yeah, those were kind of, but the Ferrari was interestingly like combined with the Shell in some cases. So
Mm-hmm.
there has been some promotional stuff and some licensed material here, but nothing at the scale of Star Wars.
McDonald's, they had
Yeah.
the McDonald's restaurant.
So, uh,
Yeah.
let's you were talking about Train though, and how Train kind of stood out for you, and I would agree. I think we did a whole episode on Train and acknowledged sort of the different generations and eras of Lego Train. And the 9-volt era, while maybe not what everyone sees as a pinnacle, this is definitely like there's a lot going on here, right? So, like you said, there's
Mm-hmm.
the snow remover, there's just all these different sets. There's a train wash, you have this uh, large freight loading crane, and a very built up train station that has like a really unique base plate that's designed to fit in with the train track and bring the train station like right up to the train. This is just, there's a lot going on here, and they have a really great 9-volt express train too, that's very familiar for those of you who had, as we did, that yellow and black train. It's very similar. It just has it really just, it's in blue instead of yellow and black. Same sort of style, a
Yeah.
smaller train cab with two passenger cars on the back of it. But so anyways, like you
Right.
mentioned, it's a
Yeah.
great year for Lego Train, and some of these other themes that we highlighted, the different ones that's, we already asked what stood out, right? What I think is exciting too is you see Johnny Thunder, which always felt like knockoff Indiana Jones, but like, there's a lot going
Mm-hmm.
on in these Johnny Thunder sets, and there will continue to be a lot going on in Johnny Thunder up until the point where it's sort of discontinued as Lego kind of formally chops into Indiana Jones. But you see just like a lot of really cool stuff, right? This is the series that brings us. There's the Himalaya series. Johnny Thunder goes to like Dino Island at one point. Like there's just so much going on with this theme, and this theme year in particular, being the Amazon theme year, just has some really really cool sets. In fact, set
Yeah.
5986, the Amazon Ancient Ruins, is the most valuable Lego set from 1999, which currently on Brick Economy is going for 1660, we'll call it, for that set. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun
Y-
stuff going on. What else stands out
Yeah,
for
and
you,
I
Grinch?
I I was looking to Winnie the Pooh was introduced within Duplo as far as licensing goes. So you're starting to see more IP licensing come to life versus
Mm-hmm.
just real life brands, as we were mentioning. Um, One thing I noticed too was Technic was pretty new at this point. It was only a few years old, if I recall correctly, or still trying to find its footing, I should say,
Yeah,
which was introduced as kind of a adult theme for Lego, right? That the whole point of Technic was to be a more advanced system of
it
play for
really,
older kids and adults.
it it gives a rector set, as the young kids would say. Maybe not, because I don't think they know what erector sets are, but like it really kind of,
I don't know what that is either. So
those were like those
some of us are
metal.
idiots. West, thank you very much. Thanks for pointing that out.
No, those were like those metal sets back in the day that you could build, that you would build like a building, or famously they used it on Sandlot to create that like baseball machine that like grabbed, there's like little bolts and nuts and
Oh,
little like, it was kind of, but that's really what Technic looks like to me, I suppose.
right.
Kind of Lego's answer to Connects a little bit, Lego's answer to like the Erector
Mhm.
sets. These were, like you said, they were kind of more geared towards adults from the start, in terms of the building series.
Right. Well, and then when you look at like price too, like total retail price, Mindstorm, this was the second year of
Mm-hmm.
Mindstorm ever. So that was, that's going to live on for quite a while. But when you get out of like the education theme, which we talked about, which is like Mindstorm, the Robo Lab Team Challenge, right? I mean, those were at retail, but it was kind of a different audience there. The most expensive was Train, right? It was 4561 Railway Express at $130. That was outside of Mindstorm, which had like computers in it. That was the most expensive. I guess there's the Robotics Discovery set for Mindstorm,
Mm-hmm.
but again, that came with like the Mindstorm block. when you're looking at pure and pure like system Lego, the most expensive set of the year was $129.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, like we were talking about the Winter Village set this year. That's $100. And then after that, though, it's just there's a bunch of Technic sets, right? The
Yeah.
Droid Developer Kit, Technic the Mission, Super Streets Sensation Race Car with again $120 on that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really the equivalent of today's black box Lego set, right? That we have that's more adult focused.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this year too, right? And this is kind of where I'm getting at. I said originally, you start to see sort of the beginning of the end for Lego a little bit here. I mean, I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
through the catalog on Brickset, and there's Scala stuff, right? There's the Snap stuff, and I mentioned how Technic sort of felt like the answer to Connects and Erector sets, but Snap really was a Connects uh, contemporary in terms of what they were creating. But you can start to see how Lego is like they're trying to compete directly with Barbie by making Barbie. They have this weird Primo series, which is like Duplo adjacent. So you're almost competing with Duplo with Primo for your market share.
Mm-hmm.
You have Technic and Snap, which are similar to each other and kind of competing for market share too. It just you can start to see Lego like it's I wouldn't I'm never gonna sit there and say like they didn't know what they were doing, but they were really trying to do a lot in a very short period of time, and it does sort of feel like they're trying to figure things out, right? But like I
Right.
said, you can see how hey, with this trajectory continuing, it doesn't surprise me that they found themselves in a bit of financial trouble in the early 2000s because of just how like outstretched they made themselves, right? They thinned themselves out too much by almost trying too much, and you see in the early 2000s where they really sort of commit to returning back to the core brand, using themes like the
Right.
license themes like Star Wars to really kind of be those bellwether themes for them, the foundational themes. But you see Lego getting rid of a lot of the extra stuff. Scala, Belleville, Snap, all of that goes away, right? Technic kind of
Yeah,
evolves a little
anything
bit.
outside of the system kind of goes away, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
But
and then we ironically get Bionicle, but
yeah, but so Technic stays, right? Because Technic on its own, even at this point, does have its own dedicated system, right? Duplo
right.
stays, but they really sort of said like, okay, let's get back to our basics, back to our core. And so I think when you look at 1999, you see the writing on the wall, so to speak, or rather it's not surprising when you are able to put two and two together, because
Mm-hmm.
certainly if it was surprising or wasn't surprising, then you'd ask why did you get yourselves in that position in the first place. So but anyways, let's chat. I just wanted to talk throwbots, right? So again, another theme that we've one of the themes of our discussion today is recognizing areas where things had crawled so other things could run. You know what I mean? Napster crawled,
Yeah.
so iTunes and Spotify could sprint, if you will. Throwbots crawled so Bionicle could run, right? And so seeing that theme here for the first time, that was one that we collected a lot, and has certainly a nostalgic place in my heart for Lego. We actually did a fun test episode on Throwbots, and there's some really cool work in sort of the larger community to build their own custom Throwbots, which was really fun to see. So certainly there's definitely a niche group of fans out there for Throwbots, but I'll leave this with you, Grant. Grinch, which one of these themes really kind of like of all of these, which one do you think is kind of the best theme for 1999?
So without saying the popular easy answer of Star Wars, because this obviously kicks off Star Wars, and I think it's important to remind the listeners that like Lego is transitioning from a strategy perspective. They're still not quite transitioning in the build technique perspective. The builds in this time frame still feel very similar to like the 90s and 80s as far as techniques go, right?
Mm,
It's not, I'd say, until maybe Star Wars Episode 3, 2005, 2004 ish, where you really start to see maybe 2003, but early aughts that you start to see the techniques start to develop and techniques start to change, and more sophisticated building structures start to be created. So the sets are super simple is my point. And
mm-hmm,
if you think back
mm-hmm,
to that original wave of Star Wars, you're right on it, right? If you think back to Johnny Thunder, you know how simple some of these are. But the one that really stands out for me, that I really, we didn't have a ton of them. I wish we had more. Is Ninjas,
mm,
and this was not Ninjago. Ninjago's its kind of own original creation. I mean, there's dragons, there's like serpent humanoid creature things in Ninjago. There's dragon humanoid things in Ninjago. I mean, it's a total fantasy world. This was like real life samurai versus ninja fight, and it was a sub theme of Castle. And I just wish they'd bring back Castle because I think this was like, it's too bad this failed because like Castle was a great theme, and I really like this idea of doing like more kind of random historical medieval themes within it, right?
mm-hmm,
Of like
mm-hmm.
you had your kind of traditional European castle themes, but some sort of Middle Eastern castle theme, some sort of
Like South
Southeast
American.
Asian castle theme, South American castle, like there could have been so much potential here.
Yeah.
Instead, we got ninjas. Lego kind of went away from the castles, they kind of went back to the castle roots after that, and then kind of went away from it. And I really enjoyed the ninja sets. They just, this was back in the day too when it's funny. Sometimes you hear people today complain about minifigures, like, well, why does this minifigure this was reused from one set,
Mm-hmm.
this was reused from another set? What the heck? Well, back then, in this time frame, if you got all the Johnny Thunder sets, you subsequently got literally, if there's 10 Johnny Thunder sets, you got 10 Johnny Thunders that were all the same.
Mm-hmm.
There was the the villain, I forget the villain's name, there was the girl, like you got a couple of sets with them. Looking back at Rock Raiders, right, you could buy the whole crew of 5 Rock Raiders in the one set like we talked about last week. However, you also got that whole crew if you bought the sets, right? They're the only exclusive one, and it was kind of unknown or not typical at the time, was Chief, and that didn't come out to the next year. But when you bought these themes, there was a lot of recycling of minifigures, and it didn't matter if it changed from, Jungle Mountain, Expedition or River Expedition. Nowadays, they would have had like a alternate face with that minifigure with some water on it, or maybe you know a wet shirt minifigure, something like that, maybe a more scratched up version. You
Mm-hmm.
just didn't get that. You just got the same recycled and reused minifigure. And ninjas was like that too. You had the green ninja, you had the white ninja, you had the red ninja, you had the black ninja. I mean, that was, then you had the old samurai guy, and the villains, right? Like, and that was kind of it, which was cool in its own way, but also very simple.
Right. Right. No, there was a lot of simplicity here, and this theme, this series or this year, right? There wasn't there wasn't a lot of overlap or a complexity with these sets. You just bought the set, and that was kind of it. And so, um, it definitely was a simpler time for sure. But I do think
Mm-hmm.
the Star Wars piece is what really transforms this year into the year that it is. And so, unlike all of the things that you're talking about, right? Star Wars does the exact opposite. Star Wars takes all of these sets, and there are unique minifigures. And yes, you do have some overlap in some certain cases, but everything is pretty unique because you have this huge, you know, like database of characters to build from, right? No pun intended, but so,
And it was deeper because of the database. There was more people to base it off of, right?
right, like the IP just it was a richer IP and it had already been pre-established, right? So it was easy to get sets from, Star Wars, the A New Hope, right? So you had the X-wing, you had the tie advanced and the tie and the Y-wing, right? And the
Those
next
came out.
year,
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yep.
you were able to do the Millennium Falcon and all of these different
Right.
sets, right? Yes, we got the snow speeder. So like some of it you can see, like there was one set from Return of the Jedi, right? It's the speeder bikes. There's one Empire Strikes Back set. It's the snow speeder. Like there's just not a lot going on, and the theme is small enough, at least this first year, that you can see Lego really kind of like being ready to build off of this in a really big way. What's interesting too, right, is like I'm looking at this right now and there's I don't know, 15 Star Wars sets for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's insane. I mean, we got probably 30 or 40 Star Wars sets this year. Maybe not that much, but maybe 30 of them this year alone, like new sets. And can you see like just
Right.
how small this wave is comparatively speaking? I mean, it's not giant, right? And there's smaller sets and bigger sets, but it's just it's just fascinating to see what they're able to do, or what they did back in the day. And this was really big, and these themes continue to be huge today. The Star Wars theme continues to this day, building both new and novel sets, but also revisiting some of these older sets, some of which have not been
Right.
revisited in a while. So it's exciting to see when Lego does revisit them what they look like. But
Yeah, in 1999 there was 13 Star Wars sets. Wes, do you know how many there were this year? And this is honestly kind of I mean, Star Wars the last 4 years or 5 years, arguably 6 or 7 years has been a little dry for Lego.
yeah,
There was 53 Star Wars sets this year.
wow. And I thought I was over
53.
over with 40. Now,
In
yeah, some of those are helmets, some
2018
of those
there were
are
70.
holy crap.
So just we went from 13, we have four to five times as many sets
Yeah.
per year.
So I
And
think
it cost you $350 to buy all the sets in 1999.
yeah. I think this question kind of answers itself from my perspective, but for you, Grinch, which theme stands out on its own?
But I will say, based on the Star Wars, though, you are correct in that there are a lot of different named characters within it that create a diversity of minifigure.
Mhm.
But over the next couple of years, when we start to get, we get more next year, it's the same Darth Vader. It's the same Boba Fett. It's the same Luke. Like any pilot Luke was the same, whether or not it was Hoth or the X-Wing. And a little excitement in the background there.
Mhm.
Loving the Star Wars conversation.
Mhm.
The Darth Maul minifigure from 99 and 2000 was the same. So, like, if the set came with the Darth Maul, you got Darth Maul,
Right.
right? There still wasn't this. Nowadays, people were complaining about the Jedi Interceptor, Anakin's Jedi Interceptor a few years ago, because it came with the same Anakin from the Duel on Mustafar, and canonically that didn't make sense because he wasn't flying that after that, and I'm like, where would Lego's gone downhill? I'm like, actually, no, this is the precedence that has been set, or
Mhm.
precedence that has been set. Sorry, because I was like, back in the day, you like, there was the one Emperor Palpatine minifigure that came on the Jedi Duel, and then that came in um, the
Imperial
whatever that
shuttle.
uh, Lambda, the Imperial shuttle, and then the other sets with the Emperor. Like, it was all the same Emperor.
Right.
It was all the same Qui-Gon Jinn. It was all the same Darth Maul. And not until, we got the new movies, and then they revisited it. And now that you've got 25 years of history, you look back at it and you're like, yeah, we've got 80 different Anakins. Now, sometimes it's like he had black hands in this one because he had a glove, and he had yellow hands on this one, and
Right.
everything else is the same, right? Or
Right.
the hair piece was slightly, but the torso, all that stuff was mostly just reused. So
So,
it's
Grinch,
just
I asked you a
it's always fun
question.
looking back at it, right?
Yeah, and I think you answered it too. But which theme for you really stands out on its own here in 1999?
It's ninjas. It really, like,
Oh, okay.
looking back at ninjas, and it's funny. Um, Again, I'm not going to take the easy answer and just say Star
I
Wars
think you
because I feel
can
like I
though. I
could.
think you've made a pretty good argument for it. But
Yeah, but is as a Lego fan today, I'm sitting here and I'm like, if I could have any of these, it'd be ninjas. And maybe it's just because I don't have it, right? But
which you
we have
don't need to collect
Ninjago.
it. You don't need to collect it. You can let that
No,
one
I already
go.
I already I already looked after I played Ghost of Tsushima. I went back and I was like, I got to go get all these Lego Ninja sets. And I like was looking at them and I was like, okay, never mind. Because just like if that Chief was expensive, I guess there was I need to look into it more, like the history of it. But there's like the minifigure pack with the Green Ninja, and like that's like $400 too for whatever reason.
Jeez.
And like there's like one ninja that's like, I think it's the green one that's super expensive. But like,
The
yeah, all the
the
sets
white
now are just,
ninja has the highest
oh, it's the white one.
growth percentage. Its growth is 6,500%. It retailed
What's
at
the what's the new
three
price now?
dollars. It's now priced at about $200. That's new
Okay,
sealed.
so I'm a little,
So
and that's from '99. There's one from 2000 that's super expensive.
yeah,
But yeah, so I really like the ninjas. I wish that they would do a more historical, or a more attempt at a more realistic slash historically accurate ninja samurai set.
yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And so I think
Because some of the Ninjago sets that I really like are the ones that are more based on reality. It's not the
mhm,
spinner jitsu. It's not the flying dragon mech battle. It's the ones that just are a little bit more like the air jitsu temple, right? That
right.
sort of thing. That's just a little bit more of an accurate building, an accurate take, and those are some of my more favorite Ninjago sets.
And so I think you kind of answer this of like which set would you like to be repeated or remade? What I will answer for this one is that I really think the train series, maybe not a word for word remake, but
Mm-hmm.
I think Lego is really onto something here of creating sets that a lot of people really enjoyed, and this is where I think with the next wave of city trains that we get, probably in the next 3 or 4 years, I think Lego would be remiss for not, that what they sorry, I'll break this down a little bit more. Like you said earlier, Lego at the time was doing the town theme, right? And there
Right.
was like the Lego police, there was,
Which is just city today.
which is just city today, right? But then there was police and boat theme that they were doing. And this year,
Yeah.
especially, there was a few boats within this theme. There was a whole Coast Guard sub theme at one point, and so there's a few like really cool boat builds that Lego introduced this year in 1999, and it kind of continues on with the trains, right? And so that's what I'm getting at is now when Lego City does a theme, they're not releasing 5 or 6 sets within that kind of sub theme, right? When they do a new airport every 3 or 4 years, you get an airplane, it's one set in the city. It's not like and
Right.
they do it sometimes, right? Like we got farming and we got like the grocery store last year or a couple of years ago. This year we had some really great construction sets, which were fun, but they're a lot more limited within the city theme of the runs that they do, kind of within their sort of sub themes.
Yeah.
And so what I guess I'm getting at, right, is with trains, I think Lego it'd be really smart for them to just revisit building out some more stuff, right? That cross piece is a great piece, the train track crossing. But then,
Mm-hmm.
you have like the rail and road service truck, and it's just a truck that's servicing the train signal, and it really looks a lot like the truck that they put in the last train station that Lego released, but it's its own standalone set. And I think, like I would have bought that if that were available, if it was its own standalone set. I didn't buy the train station, but I would have bought the little truck. There's the train and
Right.
the freight loading station, and I just think that Lego could build those smaller sets out a little bit more, and I think they're kind of chasing bigger sets. Like you mentioned too, the most
Right.
expensive set was $120 this year. Like, where's our like $20 sets, our $30 sets, things that are quick and easy, like this. Going back to that example of like the rail and road service truck, that's a $13 set, and like I'm not
13.
expecting that necessarily with a $10 or 10 cent price per part ratio, by the way, which is, yeah, is what it is. But I'm not expecting those kind of, like a $13 set, right? But something Speed Champions esque priced of like $25 would be pretty easy to go and just pick up. It's a small set. I think those would be really fun, and I think that's where Lego is kind of missing the mark a little bit these days with some of the different sub themes and themes. So I think that would be really fun to revisit. Like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, kind of with the ninjas and stuff. I think this would be another good one for Lego to kind of relook at. It'd be an interesting use case too, to see if there's something there, or if Lego is doing the right thing with the more expensive sets. So
Yeah. So I think if I had to pick a single set, I would pick. Ironically, this wasn't like the best year for Ninja, because Ninja came out in 98, I believe, was the first year, and then continued for till like 2001, I think.
mm-hmm.
So like Ninja was just still on the shelves, and they still had some Ninja sets come out here, but there wasn't that many like classic sets. Like when I think of the best Ninja sets, this isn't the best year of Ninja. It's just still in existence. So which, if I could pick one set to have redone, just a single one, would probably be Rock Raider HQ, like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, I would say Star Wars, but we just got the 25th anniversary, and looking back, it kind of like makes me feel like that was even more of a miss. Like, would have been great if we got a Gungan. So like we got the Sith Infiltrator, but like where's the 25th anniversary Gungan sub, and where's the 25th anniversary Luke's Landspeeder? I'm just kidding on the Luke's Landspeeder, but where's the
You're gonna get
where's
some
the
people
25th
very upset in the
anniversary?
comments.
Droid. The Gungan sub's kind of a miss for me, but I digress. Going back to Rock Raiders, I would like to see just a true redo of Rock Raiders, not Power Miners, but Rock Raider itself. And we talked about that more last week, so I won't get into too many details, but just a classic. To summarize last week's episode, go listen to it. Sorry, there was some audio issues, but Rock Raiders HQ was just the perfect example of what Lego was trying to do with that theme. Super
Mm-hmm.
playable, added value to the other sets, and then also just this kind of giant base platey style of set that really told a good story and had playability.
Yeah, and I really agree. I really like what Lego's been doing the last few years of revisiting kind of older sets, right? We've already talked about it. The castle, the
Eldorado Fortress.
Eldorado. Oh my gosh, Eldorado Fortress is. I saw that in the store yesterday too, and I was like, oof. But
I'll
it's
tell you how it is when I build it.
yeah. Let me know. Let me know if I need to get it or not.
I'm going to tell you right now. You do.
Okay, that's fair. They're just really cool sets. It's really fun to see Lego revisit that, right? I love seeing like what Lego does instead of that 5 wide castle piece, like how they do the walls now and stuff on like Eldorado
Mm-hmm.
Fortress. It's just really fun to see that and see what they do and see just how much the detail has changed. And so from that perspective, I think like a modern Rock Raider set would be really fun. It doesn't need to be a whole theme revisit, but a individual set just brought back from the 90s would be, I think, really kind of unique. And what a great Lego theme to revisit here, because it's your perfect example of like a one-off Lego theme that was just, it's a
Mm-hmm.
flash in the pan. And I felt like we got a lot of those in the 90s. And we had like the
And
rescue.
early 2000 and 2000s too.
Yeah. And what was that other uh like team? It was like the alpha team sets and stuff, like
Alpha Team, yeah.
there's just like a bunch of really
The Exo
odd,
Force,
like,
Agents.
yeah, sets that were just kind of its own one-off, like little like flashes in the pan, and then they were done. And so I think Rock Raiders would be a really good example of one that would be fun to revisit. So, and it'd be fun to
Mm-hmm.
see kind of what a modern take on like those minifigures and the lore would be.
Right.
So, anyways, yeah,
So, West, one thing we didn't touch on that I'd be remiss if we didn't is Lego video games.
yeah, that's true. This was a big year for them. I
This was a first kind of foray.
Yeah, and it's fun to see.
Well, not the first, but
I think we've played some of these, right? The ones that stand out to me are like the
mm-hmm.
Lego Racer and Lego Island video games.
Yep.
Both very exciting.
Rock Raiders. Talked
Hmm.
about that last week.
So
Yeah. So this was their. This was again talking about turning points or historical markers here. Again, another another foray that we see continue. I think they really get back to it with the Lego Star Wars game in the near future, but starting to kind of get into the digital world too here for Lego and trying out different things to get people into the brand.
well, and this is truly, and I think I said Lego Island. I don't think that was actually released this year. I'm seeing Rock Raiders, Lego Land, the video game. I'm not really sure what that looks like,
Mm-hmm.
but then Lego Racers, which played off of Lego Island and some of the other themes.
Yeah, they
Um,
kind of built on that, right?
yeah. No, I think you're right. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? I'm also just on Brickset right above it. See these model teams, which are these, way
Oh
more
yeah, good call. Yeah, 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 yeah.
detailed
It was kind of
models.
like
This is like,
Creator Expert and Icons.
right. This is kind of the start of 18 plus, well before that actually happens. So, uh, some really cool looking, bigger sets with some pieces that, like the chromed pieces and stuff, and a
Yeah,
turning, wheel that you just don't see anymore. So, or not just don't see, sorry, rather is standard these days on Lego sets, right? Like, this was
right.
this was big back then. So these are fun sets to see. So you really see Lego attempting more detail with their builds rather than just kind of building simpler vehicles. But yeah, wow, to see this and to see what Lego could do today is interesting. I'll just say that. But yeah, Grinch, I
Can
think,
I
go ahead. Yeah.
can I give one set a shout out before we move on?
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think we're wrapping it up, but why don't you highlight,
Yeah,
a set that you're really
I
fond of?
I can't not mention this set, the Expedition balloon set from
Yes,
Johnny
yeah,
Thunder.
that one was sticking out to me too.
And with sticking out to you literally out of the box. Do you remember how this thing was packaged? It was like, so
Yeah, the
for those that
balloon was
don't
like,
know, this was a Johnny Thunder set, and it came with this giant molded blimp piece.
yeah,
Not a hot air balloon, but a blimp piece with like a bunch of big stickers that you put on just in like, nowadays you have a 2x4, you put a 2 by, you put a sticker that fits that entire space on it. This was really just like, here's a random sticker. But the whole thing, the back of it, you could twist off. So it was kind of like a container. You could put bricks in it and stuff, and then you could twist it back on. But the packaging for this set was like the box was wrapped around the blimp. So the blimp piece actually popped out or was on its own. It was part of the packaging, and the box was built around it, which
Mhm.
was super cool and just totally unique. And yeah, I just wanted to give this set a special shout out because you just don't see that at all anymore.
No, and I think actually probably for the better, but
Oh, totally. I'm actually looking at one on eBay right now. $400, by the way. It's been opened, but it's still sealed. But yeah, the blimp, the front of it sticks out and the back of it sticks out. And the back of it is a different color because it's probably sat in the sun. So the back blimp piece is all yellowed and the front is nice and new because it's sun damaged. It's not funny. I'm sorry if whoever collected this set, but it's kind of funny because yeah, it's just like you were saying, probably for the better, like definitely for the better.
it's a yeah. That was an interesting set. This it's just a oh yeah. I is that could quite possibly be the largest molded Lego piece. Maybe
Yeah, well,
that'll be one for the fans, our listeners.
depends
Apologies.
on how you define largest, because a base plate would be technically longer, right?
Sure, I suppose. Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot here to this piece. It is a
Yeah.
very big Lego piece. I'll just put it like that.
I mean, it's practically a water bottle
Yeah.
in size.
In fact, knowing Lego, that was probably one of the gimmicks they proposed. They're like, "What if we made this thing into
Well,
like?"
with the hockey, when we talked about sports, remember the hockey ones? They
Yeah.
came in like the Bionicle tubs,
Hmm.
and they were a water bottle.
They were. They were. I'm
Imagine like rolling into soccer practice in like
with
2001.
your Lego hockey water
You're like,
bottle.
crack your neck, start stretching, throwing your shin guards, and you got your Lego water bottle. You throw it, over the sideline. You're like, let's go, boys, let's go win.
I think people would be like,
I'm like, dude, this guy had a Lego hockey water bottle. Like, oh
"Whoa,
God,
he's intense."
Sir, what did you say your name was? Lionel. Did you say Messi? Oh, Messi. Oh, okay. Well, we'll watch your career here. Wonder how you'll do.
Oh dear. Man, now I'm
Those are
going.
the hot takes you only get on
Yeah,
AFOLs Welcome.
yeah. Now I'm on an adventurer's rabbit hole myself. So I'm gonna scoop myself out and press because
Well, we're gonna talk about Johnny Thunder at some point.
we're gonna
So
have to. Yeah. Anyways, I think
yeah,
so. This was a big year for Lego. Like we mentioned, it's a transitional year. I think if you had to call this a era of Lego, this would be, in my mind, best described as the modern era of Lego. I do believe we are in the
it
postmodern
really
era,
feels like
but
it really feels like the death of an old era and the start of a new one this year.
yeah,
Because like I had mentioned, building technique wise, if you go look at a 2006 set, these sets seem much further off from a 2006 set than they do a 1980 set.
right.
But if you look at like the overall strategy and, you know, thematical design of Lego, right?
You can start to see it.
This is much closer to 2006, like way closer, right?
Mhm.
So this is kind of this awkward, like that awkward year in high school where you just grew a foot over summer, but your voice is still really high, or I mean, this is Lego puberty, so to speak.
Yeah.
Of Lego's becoming an adult right now, and it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, exactly. So Grinch, let's transition. What are we building this week? What are you building this week?
What are we building? I actually I don't typically prepare a list, but I had to in this case because I'm operating on like 4 hours of sleep and I didn't want to forget any of these. Number one, I finished Barad-dûr.
Nice.
And
Nice.
my quick review of Barad-dûr is it's insane. That's it.
Nice.
10 out of 10. No, but like I put it up next to the Tower of Orthanc.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's, only maybe 6 inches taller than the Tower of Orthanc. I didn't actually measure it, but 6 inches feels right from like the top of the spikes on the tower, But it takes up 4 times the amount of shelf space because the base is so much bigger.
Yeah.
The top of the tower itself is maybe slightly bigger than Orthanc, but just there's so much buildup around it and so much girth on this thing. But I think the most amazing thing about this set is that it's a what is it, $500 set, 5,000 something pieces. I'm blanking on the top of my mind the number of pieces in the set, but it is the most unrepetitive large set I think I have ever built. For 5,471 pieces, there are times, yes, where you do a, hey, do this times 6, almost, because each time I think it's only like the maximum times you do something is times 3.
Yeah.
But like looking at Rivendell as an example is very similar until you get to the roof, right? Then all of a sudden you're literally putting hundreds of the tiles down. The Eiffel Tower, for example, is just literally a times 4, like the whole thing, like just do this side times 4. And when you do that side, you do something times like 1,000. There's literally never a single repeat in this build because it's just so, the left side of it has a rock wall kind of built around it, right? So you build that up as you're building it. So then you put like one wall section down, one wall section down, one wall section down, and that's kind of your times 3. But even there, the terrain's different, so it doesn't quite fit in the same way. So it's not a times 3 in the instructions. It feels like it almost because it's similar. But for being so big, it is amazing that there's no repeat like at all in this build.
I saw it in store yesterday, and I was really excited to see it. I hadn't seen it in person, and I still really enjoy just the different use of color blocking that they have in there, which really kind of lends a degree of like lighting effect, right? So they're like around the Eye of Sauron, where they have the the U kind of on the top of the tower with the 2 spires. They use shading techniques with the brown pieces, so that as you get closer, they're using lighter pieces, and so it really kind of builds in that lighting effect really naturally, right? And so that I think that's really, really slick. And then you get down to the base of it, and are they using like a dark nougat color for some of the corner pieces that are kind
dark
of
orange,
designed to look almost like the glowing from the lava? It just looks really, really well done. It's really fun to see. I think the rock striation in it, that rock stripe that goes up the tower, maybe is a little bright, but it's fun to look at, and I'm sure it's been a great build. So that's really exciting. I'm glad that one is good. I think that is a one that I am going to continue to sort of just say is a little too rich for my blood, and it'd be a dust collector for me. So as much as I love the theme and I love the build itself, that's probably one I'm going to end up passing on, but it looks amazing. So yeah, I can't wait to see.
In 10 years, West is going to feel really stupid when he's buying this thing on the secondary market for $2,000. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Oh yeah, well,
say he's going to go back and listen to this episode of AFOLs Welcome and be like, oh my God, screaming at himself, don't buy the damn set.
Yeah. That's
and the Sauron minifigure.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's Lego maturity right there. So Grinch,
awesome.
I'll have you quickly go through the rest of your list, because you said you put together some more stuff, and then I'll share my contribution for the week. What else did you get built?
I built the Ornithopter.
Nice.
And I don't remember which. It's so funny how big pieces can like make a set feel so different.
Yeah.
Because that and the Justifier have like the same price, pretty much the same piece count, but somehow the Justifier feels like a ripoff, and this thing feels like a deal.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's massive. The Ornithopter is massive.
It's
I may or may not have made my wife laugh at me because I built it, and I literally was going around my living room like flying it around, like flapping the wings. I was like, and she was like, huh. That's what it looks like for an adult to play with Lego set. Okay, got it. Put the landing gear down.
It's really cool. That's a fun one.
It's a great set.
Yeah.
I built, I meant to mention it like a week or so ago, but I built the did I? Maybe I did. The Jules Verne gift with
You
purchase. I built
did,
that a
yeah,
couple weeks ago.
yeah.
Okay. This week though, I did build the Rocket Raccoon buildable figure. It was okay. I built the Disney 100 camera yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Really enjoyed that set. I'm not a Disney adult per se, but the reason I gravitated towards that set is because it came with a not a Friends version, but a minifigure style of a Bambi minifigure and a Dumbo minifigure.
Mm,
And it also came with a Walt Disney. And to me, it just screamed like, this is a collector's item. It's also a very unique build. The thing I really, really enjoyed about it, like that's what pulled me into the set to be like, okay, I'm not a Disney adult, but like, why am I going to buy this? A, it's celebrating 100 years of Disney, right? So it's like, that's set worthy in my mind. It's, but maybe just one set. I don't need the full wave. Then I saw the Dumbo and I was like, okay, cool. Dumbo's pretty cute. And then I saw the Bambi, I was like, got it. And I saw Walt Disney, I was like, awesome. Like if this Walt Disney minifigure stays exclusive, this thing is going to be worth some money. And then in the set itself, it had this really cool, like it's a camera build, right? When it's got the 100 on the side, the camera opens up and it's got a little like artist studio in it where you can put the Disney minifigure.
mm-hmm.
But then the camera also has film, the film going from it.
Right, right.
And on the film strip, it's got just is it 24 different movies from Disney over the years, from like the very beginning, from Steamboat Willie all the way to like Frozen, of different film scenes, just a different scene from 20 something films in Lego,
Nice.
like Lego-fied. So even if Lego hadn't done that set, right, for example, they still have it on there, like Fantasia and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And kind of different. And so I just started like looking at this thing and I'm like, this is really cool. And then the build itself is totally unique. I don't have anything like it in my collection. And that was just like the chef's kiss for me.
Nice.
And that's why I ended up getting that set. And really, really good build. I've got more that I built too, if you want to know.
Well, if you want to just go through quickly and list them, I think that would be good. I don't know if we have time today to get your hot takes on every single set.
This last one's kind of a bulk one.
Going through your backlog and just knocking shit out?
Well, kind of, because if you've been following my display update videos,
now that you have so much time on your hands,
all the shelves set up. Exactly. No, I've got before I do my final setup, I want to get more of it actually set up, and I've accumulated this backlog because I've been moving, and then after I moved, I was working on making the new shelves, so I just haven't had a lot of like pure Lego building time. So the last thing I've been working on is the Lego modulars.
Nice.
I bought like 8 of them used, like the 8 original used, and I've just been sorting through them because I knew the greengrocer had a little bit of yellowing. The person told me, so I like pulled out those pieces so I can hydrogen peroxide, get them cleaned up. One of them I needed to clean because it was just super dusty. And so I started that that's a big project I'm working on.
Yeah, inventorying those.
I told my wife, I was like,
it's tough.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna start work and she's helping me, which is awesome. But I was like, I'm gonna start working on this, and we're gonna have to spread this one out for a little bit. So let me know if this is a good week to start this or not. So we've got any piece that needs to be bleached pulled out, and we got everything else in separate bags, like ready to go. So built the pet shop, working on the Palace Cinema right now. Hopefully we'll have that done by the end of today, and just excited to get all those modulars and have them come to life.
Nice.
So that's my epic, my Harry Potter book 7 edition of what I read.
I think book 6 actually was longer.
Guess Order of the Phoenix is the longest, right? The 5th one is.
Is it the 5th or 6th? Half-Blood Prince.
It's the 5th because the 5th is the longest book and the shortest movie, which was dumb.
I did not build anything this week. I'll keep mine short, but I did pick up the Sith Infiltrator 25th anniversary set, which I might have mentioned in the past was
you wanted the Saw.
I wanted the Saw Gerrera minifigure for my Rogue One collection. but it's really fun to revisit that set, and then, again, that is a 1999 set that has been, yes, remade a few times, but this is done in the kind of original episode 1 Phantom Menace building, and so it'll be a fun one to build. I'm looking forward to it. It looks great. I think it'll be just a really neat set from that perspective. And then, yeah, there's some interesting news coming up here for next summer that I'm not going to necessarily comment on. Grinch, you sent me some fun rumor information about it that kind of kickstarted my Rogue One, Star Wars kind of thought process again, or kind of revisiting it. So
Are you alluding to the fact that there might be a rumor about a return of a Rogue One ship next year?
Potentially in line with the release of Andor season 2. So we'll see. We'll have to see. But it's exciting to get those type of sets. I have always felt like that was kind of peak Lego Star Wars and peak Star Wars. So it's fun to revisit that. And that is, as listeners may know, my collection is the Lego Star Wars Rogue One and Andor series collection. So that is exciting to kind of complete that in this capacity. Although I still need to get the microfighters for that wave. So it is not a complete wave yet. So, and I'm not too worried about those. Those are,
and all the promo minifigures. Come on, man. Gosh.
The promo minifigures are, no, I'm not counting those. If someone does, that's I don't know. I could make an argument why that doesn't make sense. I mean, even the microfighters, some of them aren't from Rogue One, so it's just like, why, whatever.
You're a convenience completionist, not a true completionist.
I don't think so. I do have all the promotional figures too. If you go onto Brickset, that's not. Are they listed under the Rogue One series on Brickset?
Yeah, I'm just trolling. Do you have the stand for the Short Trooper though?
Yeah, I think I've broken them up, and taken the stickers off of them.
Oy vey.
Oh no, I still have one in the sealed. I still have one sealed.
There you go.
So
nice.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's what I plan to build in the future, and hopefully can give you a full review of what that looks like for once it's completed. But let's move on.
Dude, I really want to talk about this year's modular.
I know.
It's killing me.
Let's move on to Brick Mail real quick.
Brick Mail.
Grinch, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, boy, Taco. He left us an iTunes review. Thank you so much. He said, so fun to listen to. I love each segment, and it makes the podcast very interactive. The side tangents are a great bonus. Well, in that case, we got a bonus episode for you today. Yeah. All around 10 out of 10. Keep it up, guys. You guys deserve more attention. Well, thank you, Taco. Really appreciate all the comments on the show, emails, YouTube comments, and now iTunes reviews. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying it. And I think part of the goal is to keep it conversational and interactive. So I'm glad that we're hitting on all strides there. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you, Taco. Appreciate it. Grinch, any final thoughts for the listeners this week?
Go look up the leaks about the Lego modular. Okay, bye.
Okay. I am excited for that to be announced too. It's going to be a good one. So, and that is a wrap of another episode of AFOLs Welcome. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you are listening to the show. If you would like to write the podcast, please email us at afolswelcome@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at AFOLs Welcome. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.